Hello, people of the internet. Welcome back to TK is Outlandish. If you are a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. If you are new, I am Teresa. That's my husband, Ryan.
Hello, everyone.
So, Ryan has not read the Outlander books. I have read the Outlander books. And basically, what we do here is talk about how this book, A Breath of Snow and Ashes, this like 900-page book, gets turned into an 8-episode series of Outlander. So basically, we talk about the differences, character choices, why they might have changed some things, and speculate what's going to happen. There might be some spoilers. I call them predictions because they might not be spoilers. I know what happened in the book.
Stuff, like we talk about the book stuff and how it relates, and it might be spoilers.
Yeah, so if you don't want to be, I'm not going to tell you not to watch. I will say spoilers if I think it's a spoiler. So I'm going to try not to spoil too much if there's people watching that haven't read the books, because I want them to be surprised and enjoy it. So
we probably have some good plot lines coming up too. So,
oh yes, so good. We'll get to that. So this is episode 605, Give Me Liberty. And this is the first episode I was thinking about. This is the first episode that really showed me that the book story is different than the TV story. They adjusted, I guess is the word, adapted so many things. That was the gist of the book, but it really took on a different direction than the book. So we'll talk about that. So it starts out in Scotland with Flora MacDonald and Bonnie Prince Charlie escaping to, she even says over the sea to Skye, which I thought was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
And because, they want to just like, oh, it's the lyric. Oh, that's what the song is about. Because if you don't know 6 seasons in what the song's about, I don't know. I don't know if you need that clue. But anyway.
Yeah, I gotta say, this episode, this opening was, I think, my favorite opening of the series. I really loved how they went from the prologue, then just rolled right into the opening and the Gaelic singing. It was great. I thought it was wonderful.
So, okay, so before we go on drinking my Sassenach whiskey while we're doing this,
Yep, that's snack today.
Yes, we usually drink it while we're reviewing, but we did not get a chance this time, so we decided to drink it while we were making our review. So, so this image here, so the first video we made, we compared the opening song and sequences of the first 5 seasons and tried to figure out what the images were for season 6. And I had looked at this image and I said,
well, let's hear exactly what you said. All right. Let's see. So this is back in our first podcast.
Yes. I don't know what the hell this image is. I don't know what in the book this could be.
It looks Scottish to me. Like it.
And indeed,
Scotland. Nailed it. Right on the money.
Now, to be fair, when we continued that conversation, I said if it's Scotland, maybe it's a flashback. Maybe it's Jamie's reading a letter from Jenny.
Yes.
And then flashback to Scotland. So I said it could be Scotland because it doesn't look like something that would be in North Carolina, but what do I know? So
yeah, those black rocks and the hills and stuff, that just screams Scotland to me. So yes, one for Ryan, my first one. Halfway through the season, I got one.
Yes, there you go. So it was very beautiful. When I was thinking about it, there seems to be in this season more allusions to Scotland. We had the first episode was back in Ardsmuir, Scotland. We have this in Scotland. We have Bonnie Prince Charlie. We have so we don't go in order in this video, so I just kind of go all over the place. So forgive me. But we also I felt we had Roger kind of relating to Amy McCullum missing Scotland, because even though Roger's from the future and Bree's from the future, Bree's from America. You know, Amy and Roger are both from Scotland, so I think they bonded a little bit over that. So we have these allusions to Scotland, and I'm wondering if they're going to end up in Scotland by
Like,
the end of the season.
yeah, last episode, maybe the sojourn back to Scotland begins.
Yeah, or at least there's the intention of going back, and that's the focal point or the cliffhanger. So I've
Mhm.
noticed that, and the more the Gaelic language, the song in Gaelic, the whole song. So we'll see. So yeah. So we open up. We have we have Claire and Jamie in Wilmington, and they're going for the event by Flora McDonald, who helped Prince Charlie escape to over the sea to Skye. And so I was a little confused on these things. And maybe, Ryan, this is what we do. You, as a TV viewer, maybe you understood it more. Maybe I was looking too much at the book storyline, and that's why I was a little confused. But Jamie had sent Fergus to Cross Creek, and then I think he went to Wilmington first and then Cross Creek, and then he visited Joe Costa.
Mhm.
And then Joe Costa was like, bought him a printing press.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think that's weird? I think that's weird.
I don't think that's weird at all. I'm sure that Fergus sat down with Joe Costa and he explained, well, Jamie's sending me away. It's for my own good. And Joe Costa said to herself, you know what? What would be really good for you? You ran that printing press, huh? And you really like doing that. How about if you do that again? I'll give you the money for it. I'll even tell you a couple things to start printing. I'll be your first customer. And she sure was. And
No, that wasn't the same. That wasn't the same one though. That was in Wilmington. She sent him up to Newbern, didn't she? I think he went to Newbern.
he went up to Newbern with the
Mm-hmm.
printing press,
Mm-hmm.
courtesy of Joe Costa.
Well, the owner had left, and but maybe it's not so much strange on Joe Costa's part, but I think it's strange that Fergus, who just kind of like reunited and smoothed things over with Marcelly and was getting used to the new baby, and then he's like a new burn and just pack up the kids and go. I That's the strange part, I think.
I don't know.
That's
I think at the end of the last episode, we really saw, or no, it was 2 episodes ago. I'm sorry, that we really saw Fergus kind of have that turn, and he was like, "I need to have a fresh start," and I think this is the best way for him to do it.
I mean, in the book, Jamie does send them to, I think it is Newbern, to kind of get away from, but it's the whole family. I believe it's the whole family. I don't think it's just Fergus, but
Well,
anyway.
Marsley's meet him. Marsley and Henri Christian are going to meet him.
Right, but I just think it's odd that they just didn't all leave together. But that's the other thing too. It would make sense if it was over several months. And I was saying to you earlier, Ryan, I have a hard time trying to figure out the time frame that's going on in the show. We know that in episode, was it 603, where they mentioned the Boston Tea Party, so he said it must have been like January, February that this was taking place, because the Boston Tea Party was December of 73, and by the time the news would have reached them, it would have been January, February 1970 or 1774. So, but when he goes to see the Mohawk, is it spring? Is it summer? It kind of looks like fall, but I mean, they were recording in Scotland last winter, so it always looks like desolate, you know? Is it supposed to be early spring, fall? I don't know. The baby still looks like he's only a couple months old, so that's what I'm having a hard time with the time framing here.
And that it from like a production standpoint, I guess it
Mhm.
makes sense to me because they certainly do have dates within the story that are kind of keystone dates. There's the date of the house burning down. There's the Revolutionary War, and they don't. I don't think they want to paint themselves into a corner. They want to make sure they are able to get in they tell the story that they want to tell without necessarily bringing in unnecessary other dates, so they can
Mhm.
time skip whenever they need to.
Well, speaking of the house burning down, there was in the book. They say it's um, January of 1776, but in the show, they don't give a year. And I had said to you earlier, Ryan, I said, why don't I think it's weird that they haven't mentioned, like, oh, hey, you know what? It's coming up to that date where we're supposed to die. Because I know if I had an obituary from the future that was mine, I would most assuredly mark that date and make sure I knew that date. And I just think it's weird that it hasn't come up at all.
It is. They should have mentioned it to be like, hey, that date's coming up. We got another year, and then things are gonna go down. Uh,
Right. Or, well, they don't know what year. So they said, well, we just won't be in the house because we're supposed to die in a house fire. So we just won't be in the house that date.
mhm.
And they haven't mentioned it. So I just think it's weird. So anyway, so they're having an event, Flora McDonald in Wilmington. Here's another question that I have, and Ryan, maybe you understand. I mean, I know the event was in Wilmington, but like whose house was it?
Was it
Like
at
what building was it?
big hall?
I mean, was it a public hall? I don't understand.
Maybe it was at someone's house. I don't know. I don't know.
Because, and this is why I'm confused. In the book, it's supposed to be at Jocasta's. Jocasta hosts a barbecue in the middle of summer for all the Highlanders to meet Flora McDonald, who's like a hero to them. And Claire even says she calls it a sea of tartan. So there's supposed to be, hundreds, I guess, of Highlanders in their kilts. But I thought maybe the reason they might have had to change that was number one, maybe the location wasn't available. Number two, because they were filming during COVID, the protocols wouldn't allow them to have big scenes. There was one more reason I thought maybe they changed it. Oh, maybe they because I couldn't figure out why Lord John would have been at Jocasta's celebrating Flora McDonald. I knew he was in this episode, so it makes more sense that he would be there if it was just in Wilmington. But it does not make sense to me that they brought her into Wilmington to push for being loyal to the king. That's just very strange to me. That did not jive me. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Joe Costa being so attached to Myrta and knowing how Myrta um, was, such a devout um, Jacobite, I, I can see her really like falling hard on that side of things, and being putting a lot of her money into it.
I can see Joe Costa, but I can't see like the governor and like Lord John being there and being like, oh yes, we're gonna use this woman who helped the Jacobites to push for unity to stay true to England. It just didn't. But the whole Myrtle storyline is TV created because in the book Myrtle died at Culloden, so that's a big difference. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that
So
feels like a weight they have to keep carrying because Murda was such a loved character,
he,
and now they got to keep bringing him, kind of keep bringing him back with narrative.
and it's better that they do. I don't want them to just forget that he existed. You kind of go. Jocasta's gonna have to deal with that loss, and plus the loss that she had in her life, just her daughter, and fleeing from Culloden after the battle for their lives. So, but at the party, at the what was I here? Hold on. Before we do that,
It was at the inn that Jamie was staying at.
yes, I wanted to bring up an Easter egg from the book. So Jamie notices something on the mantle when he goes to meet a son of liberty. I love Jamie's face. And in a jar on the mantle is none other than Stephen Bonnet's bollocks. that apparently someone went out because he was drowned in the tide. So I guess when the tide went out, someone went out and just cut off his balls. I don't know. Like, did people do that? I don't know. But Jamie's face is like what my face would have been. But in the book, the one thing that changed is Stephen Bonnet does not kidnap Bree until the middle of book 6. In book 5, he attempts to kidnap her at the beach, like at the TV show, but he doesn't succeed because Bree shoots him in the groin. So he has a bullet hole go right through his testicle. And Claire sees a doctor in Wilmington to talk about something else. But he has this collection of oddities. And one of the oddities she notices is a testicle with a bullet hole through it. And conversing with the doctor, she realizes it's Stephen Bonnet. So that's a little Easter egg for the book readers. The jar with Stephen Bonnet's bullocks.
Great. Great.
Okay, so moving on. Moving on to the event. We have
This I laughed so hard at this scene. I was in tears.
yes, this was awesome. It's just the look on Joe Costa's face, which was funny because when she said that she had a headache and her eyes were kind of bothering her, in the book, her whatever condition she has makes her eyes swell, and Claire actually has to poke her eyeball with the knitting needle to relieve the pressure, and Jamie just just like horks over the side. So I wondered how are they going to play that? And so when Claire says, "Oh, I have something that could relieve the pain," Ryan and I joke, like, what are they going to do? Like, smoke a doobie? Like in the back? And lo and behold, what do they do? Get some hemp flower.
I thought for sure Claire was going to be like, "Oh, well, I have some whatever ibuprofen or whatever her that era's version of it is. Some very normal medical thing." Nope.
Willow bark.
Yeah, something like that. Like, nope, breaking out the joints.
Yes. Yes. And I just
Asta just splayed back, just like, oh.
So that was great. But Claire has a little bit of a flashback when they start talking about the King of France. So in the book, she does have a panic attack thinking about that. So she does have those like PTSD moments in the book. And so we already talked about my notes. We already talked about Joe Costa being affected by Marta's loss. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say about that particular storyline. What do you think about it, Ryan?
About the scene, or about the
storyline of Flora McDonald, and have any thoughts?
It was fine. I think it was fine for it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It's just they put that out there to I guess loop the Jacobite story back around again. It didn't feel like it has any future in these episodes.
Right. That was the other thing too, because when it was supposed to be at Joe Costa's and she was giving this speech, a group of them got up and left because they were rebels. So yeah, you didn't see that, but they did go into town because somebody wanted to a group of patriots wanted to tar and feather the printer, and Jamie just doesn't want a guy doing his job to get tarred and feathered. And he's still, and that's why I said last episode, it seems like he's still walking that line. Not that he isn't choosing to be a rebel, I just think he's trying to put it off as much as he can because he just knows how horrible war is, you know. And so he's still looked at in one way he's looked at as a rebel, and one way he's looked at as a loyalist. And he has Lord John Grey, who's English, you know. So there's even that split between that friendship.
And speaking of which, so whenever Jamie and John Gray were sitting out in the field on the bench, and they were talking, and Jamie told him that like, hey, I'm a rebel basically. Um,
Mm-hmm.
at the very end, before they were all interrupted, he was like, "Look, Lord John, I gotta tell you something," and um, then they switched scenes. Do you think he was gonna tell him that he knew the future?
I don't know. That's a good question. I thought he was going to tell them about meeting, or that the Sons of Liberty were meeting at the Red Falcon Inn.
Yeah, I mean, he did. They knew that, at that.
Right.
So they
No,
went.
you're
They
you're
went.
confusing two scenes. There's the scene outside when they're talking at Flora McDonald's event where Joe interrupted by Mary, Joe Costa's slave, and then in Wilmington is when he tells John that he's a rebel.
You're right.
So
That's your
that,
yeah. So
I
yes,
don't know. Yeah.
yeah. Beforehand, whenever they were sitting on that bench, right before Mary came up, he was like, "Hey, Lord John, I gotta tell you something." And then
Yeah.
I
Mary comes.
think I felt like he was trying to tell him something really important there for a second before he got interrupted. I was
Mm-hmm.
he was gonna do it if I was gonna tell Lord John about the time travel.
Hmm. Speaking of Mary, what happened to Phaedra? Why is Mary there? I wonder if they just couldn't get the actress to play Phaedra.
Maybe.
That was just an aside. So back on the ridge, we have Bree and Roger. Do we have, is that who we have next?
Yep.
Yeah. Bree and Roger. Bree. So their relationship in the book is more. I don't want to say fiery, but I can't think of a better word because of the whiskey. No, but there's much more a blow up about Amy McCollum and him spending so much time with her. And Roger just says like, well, maybe I just didn't think you needed me. And it's like it's a bigger blow up than what's here. But their relationship on the TV show is different. I don't think Roger's as different as he is in the books, but Bree's definitely a different character on the TV show than in the books.
You keep saying Bree's like a firebrand in like the in the
She
books.
is. She is. She's she's kind of annoying in the books though. I don't really like her. I didn't like her until book 9. I was like, oh, she's not that bad anymore.
Oh,
But I don't know. She kind of flies off the handle a little too much for me over things that even I, as a woman, I don't understand what she's flipping out about. So, but she is inventing things still. She's with the girls. Um, when they find that love charm,
mhm.
she's
Yeah.
trying to figure out like, oh,
I'm sure that the the strings of fate won't have any issues with her bringing indoor plumbing into like the 1700s. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
right. Um, so book viewers, stick a pin in this. Book viewers will know what's going on with Lizzie and her malaria and the Beardsley twins. But if you're a TV only viewer, stick a pin in that and remember that 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 scene is all I'm gonna say about that. So and then Bree announced that she was expecting again. So I was wondering if they were gonna bring her second child into this. So I guess they are. I don't know if she'll because they do go back. I will spoil this because I still don't think they're gonna do it in TV. Their second child has a heart defect and they have to go back to get it operated on. But I just don't think they're gonna put him
You
back in
say
the future.
you mean go back to
The 1970s 70s, I think it would be now.
Yes, so Back to the Future. They travel.
Mm-hmm. So, and then of course we have
Oh my goodness.
your favorite character and mine, Melva. So there is just something about Melva.
Wednesday Adams is less creepy than this girl.
All she needs is the braids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's not ruin Wednesday here. This girl is just psycho.
I mean, when okay, so she's like, the first thing she says, if you tell my dad, like, she blackmails Roger,
I know,
you
like
know?
that. Like it seems like Roger would have just after he said before she threatened him, it
Mm-hmm.
probably was just going to be like, "Hey, you gotta jet out the back, and I'll stall for a minute, but you just got to get out of here." But no, she immediately jumps to like, "Bam! You better not tell anyone about this."
Mm-hmm.
And that's top tier psycho right there. No, I take that back. I take that back. Not top tier psycho. We get to that a scene later.
Yes. There's a couple scenes later. If you don't remember, in the previously, on the recap, it's the Sin Eater who I guess lived down by the creek in like a shed has died, and Melva comes into his shed and cuts off his fingers, and you see that she's already cut off his fingers, a couple of his fingers, which they find in the love charm. Which I think it was really funny that Morsley was like, "Oh, I think it's a love charm," and I said, "Yeah, because your mother would know about that, wouldn't she?"
Yeah,
Your mother would learn all about love charms. Speaking of crazy women, but so and the delight that she took in cutting off those fingers, I was like, "Oh, that's." I mean,
that was
she.
acting there. I'll tell you what. I gotta
Yeah.
wonder what's the direction. Like, what kind of like act like director was? Were they saying like whenever she was doing that or acting that out? Like, we really want you to just get really excited about cutting these fingers off.
Yeah.
Like, excited.
Excited is the word.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we know she's a plotter. We know she's a Tom peeping Tom voyeur, uh, getting around with at least um, Obadiah Henderson in the church, who Roger sent over to Amy McCollum, which I thought was kind of funny because he was like, "Well, I know you need a woman, so let me send you over to Amy McCollum." Who's not psycho.
definitely not psycho. Maybe a little bit wanting for Roger at this point, but alas.
Yeah. But hey, she has two kids and it's hard. She's
Right,
missing
yeah,
the
yeah,
word. And, so I think that was everything. The thing about this episode was the last two episodes seemed more to be character development
mhm.
with Ian and Fergus, and this seemed to be a little more action.
Yeah. They're ramping things again. I mean,
Mhm.
there wasn't a whole lot of action necessarily, like literal act. Oh, there was the tar and feathering. Um, so there was,
Yeah,
but it felt like the gears are really starting to like come together and starting to turn, and like now we're starting to make that push towards 608.
yeah. So we only have, after this, it's only three more episodes, and the next episode I'm so looking forward to because just from the preview, so there's scenes I had mentioned before in a video that I had seen seasons 1 through 5, and then I read the book. So this is the first season I'm seeing after I read the books, and the episode coming up. It's sometimes when you read her Diana Gabaldon's books, you can just see how it could play on TV. At least I could, and the episode coming up is when I read it, I was like, oh, I can just see how this is going to play on TV. And it's going to be so good. I knew, I was like, the sickness is coming. I don't know when the sickness is coming, but I thought it was going to be a secondary storyline. Apparently, it's going to be the main storyline. I don't know what the secondary storyline could be. So I don't even know if there will be one
They got a lot
because,
to choose from. I mean, there's a lot of open like they can pull in.
yeah. So it's gonna be so good. And then the last, I still really think that they're gonna take a break on Easter. Maybe April 17th there won't be an episode, and then they'll do the last two episodes. Um, the last 2 weeks after Easter. So, and I looked on my schedule on my television. The episode is an hour and 15 minutes, so it's a little bit longer than usual episode. So, I don't want to spoil it for the TV only viewing audience, but the book readers are going to be like, yes, this is when the poop hits the fan. So, I mean, there's a reason why the episode title is The World Turned Upside Down.
Looking
So,
forward.
yeah, and I think that's all I got. I think that's all I got. I
Yeah.
forgot to set my timer, so I have no idea how long I've been talking for.
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, good. I try to make it concise because neither you nor I have have that much time to talk about this. Although in real life, what I do is I'll talk about Outlander for about 15 minutes, and then half an hour later, I'll come back and I'll just continue the conversation as if we were talking about all along. But you can't do that
Yeah, that's
when
how
you're
things
making
are
a
around
video. So, yes, you keep me on track. Thanks. And you provide me with the whiskey.
here. Yes, indeed. Happy to oblige.
All right. So, good for 605. Looking forward to 606. Oh, and we have, as of right before we recorded, we have 21 subscribers. And as I say, it's 21 more than we thought we would have. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And we will see you next time.
See you next week.
Bye.